What is up, people of YouTube? I'm your host Vernon. This is King's Park, and this is the king himself. And this particular tree is on the banks of the Red River, so let's fish that. Alright, ladies and gents, since the first time I made my way out here to King's Park, I had a look at this little pond here behind me, and I thought to myself, it's weird that no one's fishing this pond. On closer inspection, you can actually see that this entire pond, there's no access to the water, it's all covered with reeds along the perimeter. And I thought to myself that that's the type of thing that I want to be fishing, making videos about. Just simply because I couldn't find any information about it when searching online. But after spending a winter here in Winnipeg, I realized that this little pond actually completely freezes over. Now that just means that any fish in these waters will probably die off, and I don't think there are fish in there. There might be some occasional pets that got released during summer. That's something you shouldn't do. So I'm not saying there won't be any fish. I just think the chances of getting fish in this little pond is quite low. But the nice thing about King's Park is it is surrounded by the Red River. So I'm going to pick a particular spot. Going to take some baits, get them out into the river, wait to see if I can get any fish. All right, ladies and gents, I've now spent an hour hiking around the park looking for a fishing spot. Now, because of all of the rain and the higher water levels, a lot of the good fishing spots are actually underwater, and a few of the spots is quite overgrown, lots of trees around, so you won't be able to cast. And I found one or two spots where you have waist-deep high mud, which is not a good thing to wade around in. But after an hour of going around, I finally found the spot where we can do some fishing. Rather ironically, it's rather close to the parking zone. We do have some rocks in the area that are covered with mud, but it makes it a bit easier to have something to stand on. And now we're just going to get some baits out into the water, wade around, see if we get any fish. Alright, so 10 minutes after throwing out the baits, we had a few hits, and then it went completely quiet. But there is, however, a small little pull or tug every once in a while on the little rod, and because we do know there are stone cats in these waters, I'd rather think it's time we check the baits, maybe rebait, cast out again. Now, why am I telling you this and showing you this? Because I'm going to reel in the baits. If there's a small fish on there, you understand why. If not, I just rebait, cast out again. Alright, so no fish on there, but it looks like one of our hooks that got stolen. Alright, so you can actually learn quite a lot just by observing the area around where you are fishing. For instance, I can see right next to those bushes there, into the water, there's constant activity, and it looks like some goldeye. I think there's a school of goldeye all bunched together there. At some stage I'll swap out to a different setup and see if maybe we can get a little goldeye, maybe use that as bait. Likewise, on the other side of these logs, I can constantly see some kind of fish jumping out there, and I think logs, something like this, that structure into the water, might be a great place for fish to be hiding. That is why I'm throwing my baits out here, hoping that the scent will carry down there and bring in the fish. The problem I'm having, it's now been an hour not getting any bites, so I'm thinking the scent is not moving in the right direction or something. And I've been casting in a safe space, knowing that these rocks extend down into the river. I'm casting out deeper so I don't get snagged on the rocks, and I'm not near the wood cover because I don't want to get snagged on that. So maybe in a couple of hours these fish will eventually find my baits, but I think it's about time we made a bit of a different move and we throw closer to the logs, have some smelly, stinky baits, see if we can get any fish to come up closer to find our baits, rather than just waiting randomly for them to find it. Not the size we were hoping to get, but a little channel catfish nonetheless. This one went for a little night crawler. Been getting a couple of hits on the night crawler. Tiny little channel catfish. Just going to throw him back. Don't want to get spined by him. And off he goes. Now if it's a bigger fish than that, you don't want to throw them, but that small guy should be able to take a fall like that. That's our first little fish landed on the big setup, closer to the logs. So just gonna rebait, get it back out there. Right, we add some movement on the rod. And we have a branch, but we do have a little fish on there as well. Little sticky came off, but our little catfish, he's not going to come off that easy. Using a little circle hook. That's why I'm saying he's not going to get off that easy. But our second little catfish, going to get him back to the water. And off he goes. Once again, he kind of swam the wrong way, but he did find his direction eventually and swam off. Now, this seems to be working. We're getting some fish. The closer we go to the structure, they get out of the structure and go for our baits. But these are small fish. So I'm thinking maybe going for a heavier weight, go out into the deeper current, and we wait for some better fish to show up. Alright, ladies and gents, the goal for this video was to get out there and catch some fish. Now we did manage to get some goldeye, and we got some channel catfish, so all in all, successful day. But when it comes to fishing, you always have that chance of catching something different, something bigger, something better. So rather than keep focusing on catching these small catfish, I'm going to go for some bigger gear, putting on heavier weight, putting on a big old circle hook with a little piece of goldeye. I'm going to get that out into the main current, see if maybe we can get some bigger fish to bite. Now, if I do catch something, I'll show you guys. Otherwise, it's going to be me sitting around for hours waiting to see if I get on some bigger fish.
Much later.
Alright, so the fishing in deep water has not been that good thus far. I had a few bites, and every once in a while I tend to lose the setup that I'm using out there. Also had some trees come by, taking our little baits down river and getting snagged. So at the moment it doesn't feel worth it to continue fishing out there, but I still do have a few night crawlers with me. I think I quickly want to show the setup that I'm using to get on these goldeye. I am using 20-pound braid, which is way overkill for this, but it is what I have out here with me. I'm going to use a little bobber or a float, and below my float I have a little panfish hook. Now, as is the law, the barbs on your hook should be closed, so always make sure it is. And this actually helps you when wanting to release the fish. You use a panfish hook because it's much harder for the fish to swallow the entire thing. Hopefully you get them hooked without them swallowing the thing too deep. And if it's barbless, it doesn't do that much harm to the fish, so it's easy to release them. On my little hook, I'm just going to put half a night crawler. How do you know which half you have? Well, that little band there, that is the head of the night crawler. So from that point on, that's the head. So this is half a night crawler. I already broke off a piece, so this is the top part. And the idea is I'm just going to thread that onto the hook. And ideally, you want to be going through that band that is just a naturally harder, more robust part of the worm, and we're going to have the worm dangling like that into the water. Now, a lot of times the fish will grab the head, but if they do grab and they swallow, then the hook will get them. That is why it's important for your hook point to be exposed. And we're just going to throw that out, let it float in the water, see if we get any more of these little goldeye. Now, whenever doing fishing like this, you need to know that if you have a badly hooked fish, if it's bleeding quite a lot or swallows the hook too deep, you may need to keep the fish. Luckily, they work pretty well as catfish bait. Alright, ladies and gents, I came to this park this morning hoping that we get on some good fishing, and I found that I had to hike around to find a fishing spot. Eventually found something, but there was quite a lot of grass in the Red River itself, quite a lot of snags, lost quite a lot of gear and quite a lot of fish, and I'm pretty much covered all the way to my knees in mud and bug spray and sun spray. But after all of that, we still did manage to get on some fish, and that's the great thing about this park. We still had fun out there, and I'm leaving it feeling pretty happy. It is sometimes pretty easy to forget how lucky we are and how privileged we are to have parks like this and be able to safely visit them. And that's the thing, whether you go fishing or maybe just take the dog for a walk, whatever your reason for coming to the park, it is still a fun place to hang out. Alright, but that's where I'm going to end this video. Please do give me a little thumbs up. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting subscribe, joining my community. But I want to thank you guys for tagging along. And like always, see you next time.